Okay, so straight up, Catan is a pretty difficult game to start with. At least that's how it looks in the first glimpse. But I can guarantee it will literally take you just one game to crave for more. So this is how the Catan board looks like. There are 5 types of tiles. Each type creates a resource. Mountains create ore, farm creates crop, sheep gives you wool, forest gives you lumber or wood, this brick mountain gives you brick. So these 5 are going to be the currency for the game. The more you get them, the better it is for you. In this game we use 2 dice, so the outcome can range from 2 to 12. The only single goal is to make 10 victory points. That's it. Whoever makes it first wins the game. But what are these points though? Something which looks like this is called settlement and is worth 1 victory point, and something which looks like this is a city and is worth 2 victory points. What it means is if you make 4 settlements and 3 cities, that sums up to 10 victory points, but at the same time if you make 2 settlements and 4 cities, that's also 10 victory points. So you can choose how you want to make 10 victory points. So how do you make these cities and settlements? So when we start the game, they allow you to build 2 settlements free of cost. Why free of cost? Because later on in the game you are going to pay for making the same settlements, and any existing settlement can be upgraded to a city with some cost as in resources. Remember, the brick, the wool, the ore, the lumber. So you don't have to worry about how much building these would cost, because you will be given with a card which you will have constantly throughout the game to refer the cost for each of the buildings. But the first question is, how do you gain resources at first place to spend on making cities and settlements? So every time someone rolls a dice, let's say if we get a number 5, look for the tile which has the number 5 on it. If you happen to have a settlement on such a tile, you get 1 resource, and if you happen to have a city on that tile, you get 2 resources. Now let's talk about the cost. So remember this card I spoke about? This card has all of the costs associated with anything that you can do in this game. The settlement costs you 1 sheep, 1 crop, 1 brick and 1 wood, whereas a city costs you 2 crops and 3 ores. But wait a second, what is a road? So roads are nothing but normal roads. These are supposed to connect your cities and settlements. There are just 2 things you have to know about roads. The first is when you are placing the 2 free settlements in the beginning of the game, you also played 2 roads along with it, of course, free of cost. Later going on in the game, you pay 1 brick and 1 wood to build a road. The second is there can be no cities or settlements side by side. So when we start the game, you will see a deck like this face down. This is a deck which is called development card. So every time you pay a ore, a sheep and a crop to the bank, you can purchase one of these. But why do you purchase them? You can totally play without purchasing even one of these, but this can give you a little bit of edge throughout different occasions in the game. Now let's talk about this great tall thing, which is nothing but robber. So if you have paid enough attentions, there are 5 type of tiles, but what is this 6th type of tile? This is nothing but a desert, which is where the robber lives. So when the game starts, the robber stands on the desert. The job of the robber is to steal resources. All the possible numbers that can come as an outcome to rolling 2 dice, all of the numbers you'll find on the board except for 7. Why? Because every time a 7 rolls, the robber moves. So whichever tile the robber moves to, he will literally steal any resources that tile generates. So you'll not get paid any resources from that tile unless the robber moves from that tile. And when will that happen? For that you have to wait for this next 7 to roll. So next time when the 7 rolls, you can chase away the robber. But the question is, who decides where the robber goes? Whoever rolls the 7 gets to move the robber to their desired tile and also steal 1 resource from any one player who has a city or settlement on that tile. But just from one player, not from every player who has a settlement there. The best position to place the robber is where your enemies have cities and settlements, so that they are deprived of resources. Development cards. Remember the benefits that they give you, but what are these benefits? The first is night. This allows you to move the robber without waiting for the next 7 to roll. Someone has blocked one of your tiles and it's not making resources anymore. Just use one of this card to move the robber. And of course, like usual, you can also steal 1 resource from any one of the players who have a settlement in the next place where the robber moves to. So 2 little benefits. Second is road building. Straight up you can build 2 roads without any cost. Year of Plenty, short of a particular type of resource, just use this card to get 2 free resources from bank of your choice. Monopoly. Yes, you have to be scared of this card. While playing this card, you have to mention a resource name. For example, while playing this card, if I say brick, so all of the players have to hand over all of the bricks that they have to me. But these were just the smaller benefits. But development cards also give you a very big benefit. That is straight up victory point. If you're lucky enough, you can get 1, 2, 3 or more victory points straight up from these cards. But you might think, if you can just gather victory points this easily, why to even bother making settlements and cities? So the problem is, with development cards, the cards are shuffled and they are face down. It's on your luck which card you get. But this way or that way, each development card will give you some kind of benefit. Like usual word, you can also trade. So let's say you want to build a settlement, you have 6 cards on your hand and you don't have a brick. So next time you have your turn, ask if someone would like to make a trade with you. They give you a brick and you can offer them 1 sheep. They say yes, awesome. They say no, try offering them 2 sheep. They say no, try offering them 1 sheep, 1 ore. You can keep doing this till the trade either works out for you, or at occasions you can ask the other person what they would need from you for them to give you a brick. But yes, that does not always work out, but nothing to worry, the bank is here. So worst case, no one trades with you. You can accumulate 4 cards of any same type and hand it over to bank to get 1 card of your desired choice. Yes, expensive trade, but better than none. So now we are educated enough to talk about how to set up the board at first place. These 6 spaces, when fit together, will look something like this. Then you can randomly put tiles. After the tiles, just sprinkle 1 number on each tile. While placing the numbers, just take care of 2 things. The desert where the robber lives should not have any number on it, and any 2 red numbers should not be adjacent to each other. Wondering what are the dots underneath the numbers? 5 dots are on the red colored numbers, which are 6 and 8. So these dots represent how probable these numbers are as an outcome of rolling 2 dice. The more number of dots, the better the number is. So 6 and 8 has 5 dots, whereas 2 and 12 has 1 dot. Why? There's just one way to get 2 and there's just one way to get 12. And similarly, the other numbers lie in between, having 2, 3 and 4 dots. They can help you decide where you want to make your next settlement. The more number of dots there are, the better that tile is. Go for places which is surrounded with numbers with more dots. This will allow you to make more resources. Now the big day, the first game, which could be really overwhelming, but the entire goal of the first game is just to make you familiar with the game so that the second game can be really interesting to you. So here are some tips to make the first game a lot easier. First is, the first 2 settlements that you place on the board are the foundation. You can be literally slowed down or get an edge just based on these first 2 settlements. So for all of you beginners, I set up a board so that each player is balanced throughout the game. One more important point is, whenever you place your second free settlement, you can collect 2 or 3 resources for free, the tiles that surround the settlement. For example, if this is my second settlement, I can collect 1 sheep, 1 ore for free at the beginning. I have also put a link in the description for where you can buy this game for yourself. Also, the first game should be of less points, let's say 5, so that the game could be forgiving and any mistakes that you do will not have long-term consequences. So we have yet discussed 2 ways of making victory points. First is, of course, making cities or settlements. The second is being lucky enough to get victory points as part of development cards. But there are couple more ways to get victory points. So the first is called Longest Road. You see this card here. This card is worth 2 victory points. But who gets this? So anyone who makes a continuous segment of at least 5 roads can claim this card. But this is not permanent. So after you have made a 5 length road, someone else goes and makes a 6 length road, they can snatch it from you. And if you extend your road even further and reach 7, then you can snatch it back. So this is going to be a snatchy game, but then it's not 1 but 2 victory points. But if no one in the game has 5 or more length road, then this card does not take effect. Second, remember the knights that we used to get as part of development card? So whoever plays 3 knight cards first gets to have this card, which is called largest army, which is again not 1 but 2 victory points. But this is again snatchable like the longest road was. Let's say I played 3 knight cards, but maybe after me someone played 4 knight cards, so they just snatched this card from me. So one section we have not explored yet is called port. Remember, we can trade with other players, but let's face it, it's not going to always happen. Why? Because a lot of times people will not have the correct cards to trade for, and sometimes people just don't intend to give you the correct card so that you don't get ahead in the game. So we have to have a reliable source of trading, which is of course the bank. You can trade with bank, you can give 4 cards and get 1 card back, but this is too expensive of a trade, 4:1. So there is middle ground, which are called port. If you happen to make a settlement or city here at a port, you can trade 2 sheep for 1 resource of your choice from bank, but that's only applicable for sheep. Everything else you will still trade for 4. In this port, you trade 2 ores for 1 of your choice. But what is this though? 3:1. So this port is not specific to any resource. This just means you can trade any 3 resources which are of same type for anything that you desire. Unlike other ports, this gives you more flexibility. You are not restricted on a particular type of resource that you can trade, but on the other hand, the discount is less. So the other ports are 2:1 and this is 3:1. So some last few points to help you connect some dots. So remember, I kept talking about bank the entire time, that you can give 4 cards to the bank and take 1, but what is the bank? Any player who can multitask can also act as bank. So alongside playing, they can keep all of these cards stacked in front of them. Whenever someone wants to, let's say, build a road, they'll hand over the resources to the player who's acting as bank. There you go. You know it all. I'll see you in the next video. Till then, bye-bye.